Good morning, everybody. Orange J here with another AFK Journey video, and today I'm going to be doing my first ever AFK Journey tier list. Now, this is a tier list for pushing the AFK stages and pushing the story at a significant deficit. I would call this something like a mid-game tier list. Once you're rolling into the game a little bit and you're looking to accelerate your account by beating content in the game that is a significantly higher level than you. For example, let me give you some receipts here, show you what I'm talking about real quick. I'm going to jump into my game and you can see I'm at AFK stage 708. If I was to fight one of the regular stages here and not the boss stage, I mean, that's a whole different thing. But if I was to fight one of these regular stages here, I'm fighting level 180 some level mobs with my 140 and 150 level characters, and I'm winning. Like, I am clearing stages, I am moving on in the game. So how can you do that? Well, you have to be using the correct mobs. And so I'm going to do a tier list today. I'm going to throw the tier list back on the screen that tells you what units I've had success with, why I've had success with them, and kind of how to build around them. I hope this helps you push content in the game as well. So let me start off with my tiers. I've already put my bottom 3 tiers on here. This question marks tier is like nobody has these characters because everybody's getting, you know, our guy Rainer here and not them. So I don't know anything about them. And even if I did have them, I'd have maximum like 1 copy. So it's not, they're just not factored in. The nope tier is these are characters that if you're trying to fight stuff 30, 40 levels higher than you, I can't make them work. They just aren't good enough. Like, sure, Seth has potential, but he ends up just being dead most of the time instead of popping off. Some of these characters are very, very good in honor duel, and I feel like maybe that's where they belong, but they don't belong, in my opinion, in deficit pushing. Now, B tier is an interesting one. These are characters that I think you can get away with running like one of them in your team, or if you have them like maximum duplicated out, like you have pulled a bajillion dupes of them and you have them at Supreme Plus, then you can maybe pop off with them. Units like Shakir, or units here, and let's look at these 2 tanks up front. When you're doing stages that require you to have 2 different teams and you want to run like a double tank comp, or you need another support or something like that, these units can be very good pieces or very important pieces for you if you've been building them in those stages. And the beautiful thing about AFK Journey is you're kind of always building all of your units because they all level up with your account, so you can mix and match them as they go. I know some units in here like the Damians of the world, and what the heck, I have a list of the units names pulled up to the side because like an Arden, I never remember Arden's name. Arden are good in like certain wombo combo teams, and I'll kind of mention that, but that's pretty situational. So let's go ahead and I'm going to talk about these units down here at the bottom, these units that I consider the best for pushing at a deficit, and I'm going to start with 3 interesting ones. So we have Jumper Man here. Now, Jumper Man is an assassin character who's really, really annoying to kill. I feel like he's more of a PvP specialist than he is a PvE pusher. His damage isn't good enough to be pushing through these like deficit level stages until you get him really, really duped out, and then he's kind of insane. So I'm going to put him into A, and then I'm going to drop him into top of B. Now, most of these are not in any order. Like the nope stage, the 0's a 0 kind of no matter what, so they're all nopes. This though, these top of B, kind of pay attention to that because I do think the top of B characters are a little better than the rest of B. So the caveat here is if you have a bunch of dupes of him, he still works. Same with Carolina. I think she's a unit that once you get her all duped out, she all of a sudden becomes kind of god tier, but this is a mid-game tier list, and that feels more like an in-game thing once you've done a ton of pulls. And then we have one of my favorite units, again, whose name, I can never remember these people's names, man. There's too many characters and I haven't played for long enough. Sylvina. Sylvina, if you get her to the point where she has her shield, like once you get her to Mythic Plus, I believe, and you unlock her special weapon, when she jumps into the back line and attempts to assassinate someone, she gains a big shield. Now, she's not going to one-shot someone in the back line. In fact, the only time I really ever see her do that is in the honor dueling mode when you're building a comp specifically around her. She's crazy in that, but you're never going to get that buff in PvE content. So if you get her to at least the point where she can jump into the back line, help you start killing people in the back line, and give herself some survivability, she's useful, but again, that requires a ton of dupes, so I have to drop her into top of B. Now, we get to the S and A tier characters for real. Thorin's up first. Thorin's an easy S. Now, he's an S because he's the best tank in the game in terms of like the holy trinity of units, right? If you're talking tank, support, DPS, this guy is a tank. He does pretty dang good damage, and especially his like AoE ult does a ton of damage once you really get him leveled up. His revive is really good. It's the problem with his revive is he needs somebody to cover for him while he's reviving, because he'll drop aggro. And in these really high level, high deficit fights, he's gonna die. Like, he's gonna die very early a lot of times until your team kind of starts popping off, getting their ults cast. So you need someone to cover for him, but if you want a frontliner, he's the best one in the game, so he goes into S tier. Then we have Tamara here, and I think I got her name right. Again, I'm going to struggle with these names, and I just apologize for that. Tamesia, gosh dang it, Tamesia. Tamesia's an S tier character for me. She is a secondary tank in these pushing comps. Again, the more duplicates of her and everyone else in this list, the better you have, but she's the character, if you're fighting against a team with some assassins or somebody who's going to be targeting your back line, you can put her on the back line. They'll target her, then she'll run them over on her way to the front line, buying you some time and help your assassin characters. If you're running backline access characters, she does enough damage that she's often the difference in kind of cleaning them up. And if you're running her with Thorin or another tank that happens to die, she's kind of all over the map, so she has a decent chance of picking up aggro. Walls are also not a problem for her, and that's a big deal because there are a lot of these maps where the walls are super annoying and you often need to run like weird units who can kind of get around everywhere. She can get around everywhere, so that gives her a leg up, and that bumps her out of B into A, in my opinion. And you will often be running multi-tank comps or multi-support comps. Okay, next up is our boy Smokey. He's been talked about so much by everyone else in the community. He's the best healer in the game, I think. At least he's the healer that's the most consistent healer in the game. Maybe not the highest level of healing. Maybe our elven child friend down here is that, but his healing is so consistent through the whole fight that I think he deserves a spot in S tier. You're gonna need healing. You're just gonna need healing when you're fighting at this much of a deficit because the mobs have so much HP. You can't just insta-give them. So you need some way to sustain through the fights. He is the best sustain through the fights character in the game. Then we have Eren. Now, Eren, I'm going to put him into A, but then he's a character that, for him to be an A, he needs access to his instant ult. You need a ton of duplicates to get him access to that instant ult. And in fact, I think I'm talking myself into dropping him into B tier. Again, we're talking about the mid game here. If you have really been focused on him and you've gotten lucky and pulled a bunch of his dupes so he can like wombo or he can drop his ult on the mobs early, grouping them up and debuffing them, and then your team can follow that up with some AoE damage, he's an easy A tier PvE pushing character. If you don't have that, and he needs time to go in there and melee, hey, meleeing with these level, with units that are 40 levels higher than you is a recipe to die. So I'm going to drop him down to B. He needs his instant ult. Until you have that, he's B tier. He's still good, again, especially with his wombo combo friends down here in the B tier, but that's kind of its own team comp and it requires a lot of duping out. And since this is a mid-game tier list, I'll drop him into B. I do think once you get to in-game, he climbs back up a little bit. Okay. Next up, we have Granny. Granny's another A tier character. In terms of, again, that like holy trinity of like pure tank, she's the second best one in the game, in my opinion, to Thorin. Now, this is just for PvE pushing. Even then, even as the second best pure tank in the game, if you put her out there and all 5 enemies have aggro on her, she's dead. Her self-healing doesn't really matter. Nothing else really matters. They're going to run her over. She does need some time or a distraction, right? You can often run her with another tank and split aggro. That will buy her and that other tank enough time to start letting their kit take into action, or let your Smokies or Rowans or somebody like that start healing them. In that case, I think she is one of the better characters to run in this situation, so I'm going to put her into A tier. Now, speaking of characters I can't remember their name, Byron, is that right? Yes, Byron. Okay, Byron is a good range damage dealer. Guys, good range damage dealers are good when you're pushing hard content because they're not meleeing. And if they're not meleeing, they're probably not getting hit. So if you can buy them time to pop off, this guy's really good. Buy him some time, let him get his falcons out and do his work. Okay, next up is Cecia. Cece, easy S tier character. Now, her damage herself, when she's just like spitting, is okay. She does a little CC. CC is absolutely broken when you're pushing this stuff. Like crowd controlling the mobs is a huge deal. It's a huge deal. She brings a ton of crowd control once she summons her friend. So once she gets her summon out there, it's often at the point in a battle, or at least I found, like, okay, your Thorin has died and he's reviving and your healers are starting to heal and the fight's kind of in this like, ooh, it could go either way. Boom, she brings out her friend. He drops in the middle of everybody, crowd controls him and just starts wailing, and it turns the tide of a fight. Like, it is insanely powerful. Now, she really wants a Rowan. She really wants a Rowan or some kind of way of getting her her ultimate cast fast as she can. But once she casts it, it completely turns the tide of a fight. She is one of the best pushing characters in the game. I'm actually going to put her up here. Like, you can actually, and I know people are like, Smokey's, look guys, my current teams that I'm running right now almost never run Smokey. Unless I'm going 2 healers, I don't run Smokey. He could definitely be my main healer, and that's why I have him up here, but she's in every one of my teams. Like, her ability to turn a fight is insane, so I'll put her to the top. I'll put her at the top right now. Okay, next. Now, we have, gosh dang it, names, you guys. Corrin. Now, Corrin is a shield bro. He does decent damage, and he can provide shields that are just really clutch. So sometimes these fights, especially on maps where there's just walls and weird stuff everywhere, your backline gets accessed by like maybe one mob and they're kind of chipping you down. This guy's pretty hard to kill. He can jump to you, de-aggroing himself because he's often pretty low at this point. Boom, provides those shields for your team, keeps your DPS units alive. I think he's very good at pushing PvE, so I've got him at A tier. Now, I do have him pretty duped out, and he gets insane for bossing once he gets his, true damage unlocked, or his percent HP damage unlocked, but I don't have that yet, but there he is. Okay. Odie. Odie's an A tier character here. Now, why not an S tier character? Because he needs his little, like, he's a single target damage character, and his execute is pretty nice. I do like it, and I have him to the point where he has his execute, and he can put out his poison. Oftentimes in these fights, he's going to end up hitting the front line of the enemy team. And the front line of an enemy that's 35 levels higher than you, it just requires, he's still great. Like, he's still in the A tier for me, and people are going to push back on this, but I've done this a lot, and he just needs time. He needs someone else to help kill the damage dealers on the enemy team so he can chew through their front line and then just start executing people. But he needs a little bit of ramp up time, sort of like Cece, but she needs less, in my opinion. And plus, once she ramps up, then you have 2 characters. So I'm going to drop Odie into A, but he's definitely high A. I'm going to put him like here. I'm going to put Tamisia here. I'm going to do something like that, rearrange my A tier a little bit. Okay, next we got Coco. Now, Coco is going to be another like mid A tier character. And again, people are going to be like, but wait, Coco's busted. She's insane. And look, for like bossing, I do agree. She's really good. And again, I am putting her in the top, like maybe like 8 to 10 characters in this game for pushing hard content. But unless, like, she doesn't do a lot of damage, she's not particularly tanky, especially again, I'm talking about against units that are 40 levels higher than you, she'll die. And so she must get her ultimate off, which means you have to like support her with a Rowan or buy her the time to get her ult off. Now, her ult is absolutely game changing, but it's just something that enables the rest of your team. She needs the other units to enable for her to be good. She's great at it. That's why she's in A tier. And if you're building your Coco, I think you're smart to do so. Okay, this guy's name's super hard to say. Rainer. Really good. I'm going to put Rainer bottom of S tier. Now, why that? I think Rainer might be the best overall unit in the game. Like, he might just be the best overall unit in the game. But for pushing this kind of content, the map and the way you can place your units is often kind of just a little too wonky for him. If you had like even placement against a team like, like Arena 1, for example, if you were always fighting on Arena 1, Every time. Use him every time. His ability that he gives the person behind him where they can heal themselves as they're damaging things is really good for keeping them alive. His damage is good. His support is good. His ability to like throw someone into the back line for some of these like assassin characters is really good if you're using them. Or if you're like, you want to throw a tank like her into the back line. So boom, she drops in there and then starts running the other way. I do think he has a ton of good uses. Just some of the maps don't really work for him. But I do think he's one of the best characters in the game. Vala is a bottom of S tier character here. Now, one of the reasons Vala probably feels so good right now is because we all have a lot of dupes of her if you pulled on the current banner. She might end up like in 6 months or 5 months, she might be more like here, right? But for now, she's S tier. Her ability, she's one of the few characters in this game that has the access to the back line and through her ultimate, the damage to start eliminating key members of the enemy team. Oftentimes, if she dies, my run's over. Now, sometimes Cecia could go ahead and solo carry it, and oftentimes these two right here are my carries in my dual carry teams. But you can find a lot of times if I'm like, let's say I lose a fight against like, you know, plus 35 level units. I'm like, all right, who kind of messed me up? Was it this one in the back? Was it this one in the back? Okay, I'll switch Vala to the other side. I'll maybe give her a buddy, like a Tamisia or somebody like that. So I'll have Vala target the unit in the back. I'll have Tamisia run at that unit in the back, and kind of the combination of them doing damage will eliminate the back line from the enemy. And now my tanks are living after maybe, you know, they're come back to life or something like that. So she is an S tier character right now. I'm going to put her in here, and she might even be, I'll keep her at bottom of S. If she gets caught, she's toast. Now, once you get her to the point where she like drops aggro and gets really fast and heals herself when she's killing people, she kind of like resets, like almost feels like a single target Katarina from League of Legends or something. Then whoa, she's destroying things. But if you've noticed, a ton of these units need a ramp up time, and that's why that's why there's a lot of tanks chilling up here, because the ramp up time on these units is necessary for them. Okay, Rowan is another S tier character, and I'm going to put Rowan as maybe the second most important character. I think he's more important than Smokey for pushing at a deficit. Yes, Smokey is a better healer, but a lot of times you can't out heal their damage, especially at the beginning of a fight, and you need some way of like almost cheesing it. More on that here in a second. But Rowan is the guy who gets this ult off faster. If Vala gets aggroed in the back line, he's the one who allows her to jump away. If you need, if you need your healer here, Hewen, how do you say her name? My God, how that name, Hewen, Hewynn, Hewen. If you need Hewen to ult, hey, guess what? If you're running double support, he can kind of help her do that. If you're playing Defend the Crystal, you just run her, Rowan, and Smokey, and you just heal the crystal all day and like put some takes out there. And it's funny because you just watch time run out because no one can burn that down. Doesn't work in fights where you have to kill the enemy because timer will get you. But in the fights where you're defending crystal, you want the timer to run out. Boom, anyway, Rowan, he gives energy to the team. Also, his healing potions are only single target heals, but they are big single target heals. Oftentimes, like your tanks, like your Thorin, they're out there tanking and like, oh man, they're getting chunked. You should see this healing potion dip in over their head. And you're like, okay, that just bought me like 3 or 4 more seconds. Good. So his healing potions are enough, especially once you start duping him out and make his heals better. Look, here's a mistake I see people making. They say like, oh, don't dupe out Rowan. What? Like, dupe this guy. Like, keep this dude on your wish list. I think if you're removing him from your wish list, you are not setting yourself up to like push higher level content effectively or as effectively as you could. And he's kind of also the guy, like sometimes you got to sacrifice somebody. Like you're playing on the map with like 3 lanes, but you need damage and you need at least, so you got 2 tanks, like 1 cover in the middle, 1 cover in one side. You need your 2 damage dealers because you got to kill them. And then I'm like, well, this guy's going to run this loop and he's going to get to me. Who do I want to die? Rowan. So dupe him out a little bit, because once he gets his first ult off and is like giving everybody the energy to get your fight going, he's done his job. He's done. Okay, good, because my CC is now ulting, my ball is bouncing around the map, whatever, like we're doing fine at that point. My Coco has ulted and now we've stabilized. Rowan plus Coco pretty good. But now you're running 2 supports already, and you got to piece the rest of your team together. Okay, I'm gonna save my big lion guy here for last. Hewen. Hewen is a like mid of A rank character in my opinion. She has map wide gigantic heal. What's the issue with that? Well, it takes time. She needs a minute to get that thing off. Now, once she gets rolling, if you can survive to the point in the fight where, we've got her ult off, you've stabilized, you've done it, and you're probably going to win the fight as long as your damage dealers aren't just like throwing themselves at the tank and the entire enemy DPS line is still alive. So I think she is worth having, worth playing, again, especially in those comps or those rare situations where you need more than one actual healer, like a protect the crystal map or something like that. Then she's invaluable. Like you need her in the really hard level protect the crystal maps where that crystal's like center and there's weird walls all over the place, so you got mobs coming from all directions and you can't possibly tank them. Then just run all your healers, and she's one of the best healers. So there we go. Now I want to talk about my guy Brutus right here. My guy Brutus has been receiving some disrespect. You know, there's a lot of these like online tier lists, things like that, and like they don't respect my man Brutus. Brutus is like S tier. And I mean, like, I am not talking about his damage dealing ability. I'm not talking about his PvP, although I think he's good in PvP too. I'm talking about the ability to push content that you have no business pushing. Push content that outlevels your account by 35 levels. He does one thing, and he does that thing incredibly well. He guarantees you that he's going to live for a while. So what I like to do is put him out there. Now he's not top of S tier. He's like, I'll put him at the bottom of S tier, but he's S tier. So let me give you an example. I'll tell you what, let's go back to the game. Well, that looks kind of ugly. What happened there? Let's fixed. Okay, let's go to this fight that I've been right here. I haven't tried stage 709 yet. Let me show you a potential setup that I might run. I don't know how well it'll work on this stage because I don't know how these people here will aggro. I'm going to drop my Vala to the back line. I'm going to have my Brutus up front. He's toast. Like, I know he's going to die, but he will buy time for everyone else on my team with his life. Then my Thorin can pick up aggro, and then hopefully by that time my team is popping up. So look, he's got aggro from everybody. He's taking damage. He's finally dead. It's Thorin's turn. Vala's already ulting. Rowan's ulting. Okay, my second take is dead, but look at how the timing of this worked. By the time they chewed through the Brutus front line, my entire team is ulting, and I have a chance to win the fight. Now, these silly walls are probably going to cost me as Vala like can't get at anybody. We'll see. I might still win. She's kind of popping off. Nope, she died. So I almost beat that. I need to just like mess with some things a little bit or try one of these other fights. Like potentially this fight looks a little bit more friendly towards him, and Vala has access to like a squishier unit. Laser Bro here, watch out for Laser Bros. So let's see if I could beat a level 180 fight with my level 140 Brutus. So watch this. He's going to walk out there. He's going to tank everything, and he's just not going to die for a while, which is great. Now we're going to see if we can get into this back line. Vala's pitting people. There's my ult from Ceccia. There's Rowan giving me access to more ults. Vala's jumping in the back line. Thorin has revived. He's back to life. And look, we're going to win this thing. And do you know why I won? Because Brutus bought me enough time for my 4 actually good characters to do their thing. But without him, any other tank is dead too fast. And those seconds that Brutus buys you in PvE that is too dang hard for you is invaluable. So there you go. That's my spiel for old Brutus. Now let's put the tier list back on the screen so you can see it one more time. There it is. There's my deficit pushing AFK Journey like mid-game tier list. This is based on my experience. I have played basically, I haven't played any of these question mark characters. I was going to say I play all these characters. That's untrue. The question mark boys at the bottom, I have no idea. But the rest of these I play all the time. I mix and match them in based on, you know, what level, what stage I'm on, stuff like that. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. Hey, if you've been enjoying the AFK Journey content on this channel, I am really trying to get the algorithm to pick up that this is a game that I am covering. I feel like my content is pretty decent, so if you like it too, please hit that like button on the video. Please subscribe to the channel and check out my other AFK Journey videos, and it just helped me out a lot. So thank y'all. Have a good one. Peace.